Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to My Golf DNA, and we are out here on the range in beautiful sunny Florida working on our anger management today. That's right, we're working on becoming a whole lot less frustrated with this game, and we're working on hitting a lot of golf shots today. But we're gonna be doing it in a way where I kind of build you up from the inside out, because sometimes working on some of the hardest movement in the golf swing in a very condensed and a very easy fashion, and feeling what needs to happen down in front of your body at impact where it really matters the most, and getting yourself to stay connected to that feel alone generally will start to make a lot of the stuff that you do poorly outside of the hitting area start to work in a better fashion. And when you can start moving through the hitting area and start to compress the golf ball and hit it out of the center of the club face and look up and see that you have good control of it, then golf becomes a little bit more enjoyable. You don't feel like you're wasting your time out here. Today I'm going to walk you through an easy drill. This is called a touch, rotation, and go drill that allows you to start feeling what it's like to be able to move your lower body, your hands and your arms and your shoulders properly in these little small formats down in front of you to be able to ultimately help you pick up the pace in your practice sessions so that you can become a compression making machine. Let's go ahead and get started now. So the important point of today's drill is to understand that we're going to be working on trying to get you to feel what your body, your arms, and your wrists are doing through the point of contact and through the low point. And we're going to be doing it by working on things from the inside out. Now, how I like to do this drill is to give you kind of like a roadmap as to what your impact position is going to be like and start getting you to try to work back to that position, but in a very consolidated fashion. Because we know this. We know that at impact and a good golf swing, we need to have the low point somewhere between 3 and 5 inches in front of the point of contact. But we also know that we need to have the shaft leaning forward. Shaft lean is something that a lot of you feel like is a mythical creature, or something that you feel like you have to forcibly do in the swing shape. What's going to help you generate forward shaft lean is 3 components. The first one being weight shift, moving your center of mass in front of the golf ball and getting your lead shoulder, which is your primary pivot point, in front of the golf ball. That's going to determine the low point in the swing shape. Now, just by shifting your weight, that's not guaranteed or not guaranteeing you that you're all of a sudden going to see tour quality shaft lean here. The other 2 components need to still be working for you. And the other one is, the big one, is rotation. And a lot of you really screw this party up because when you get up to the top of the swing, you start shifting left, but you forget to finish off the job and continue to rotate open, which is moving the shoulders and the arms down into the delivery position. So if you stop rotating, you're going to start throwing it over here, and you're going to come down into a flippy, scoopy position that's not going to allow you to hit the golf ball with a great deal of zip, I promise you. So you have to make sure that you shift forward. You have to make sure that your hips rotate open, which is going to be driven by your core. And then the third and final component is making sure that your lead wrist goes from this sort of cupped position at address to a flat or slightly bowed position at impact. And most of that actually happens well outside of the hitting area, well outside of the release. And for you to think about all 3 of those things in a robust sort of manner would be incredibly irresponsible of me as a golf instructor. There's no way that you could understand all of the variables that affect your weight shift or your body turn, or what actually moves your wrist from that cup position into flexion. But if you can feel impact, and you can feel the spots that we're going to be working you through pretty quickly, then there's a pretty good chance that a lot of you are going to start to see the success outside the hitting area, because you have to do these things right in order to be able to get to this spot. So what we need to get really good at here first, and this is going to seem kind of hokey and a little bit mundane, but trust me, you give yourself a roadmap, your subconscious loves this, and having a little bit of a conscious behavior when you're practicing and being in a position where you can override the subconscious's bad behavior is what the key is to your success here. But what we have to do is we've got to be really good about going from a static address position, okay? And if you don't have a good address position, stop doing what you're doing and go watch one of our setup videos, either on the website or on the channel. And you want to be able to go from this position to an impact position that looks just like this. Now here's your checkpoints for your impact. Your head should have lowered ever so slightly. Your left hip, your left knee, and your left ankle should be forming a straight line, with your left shoulder, the center of the shoulder, just a fraction inside of that. Your hips should be open somewhere between 35 and 45 degrees, and your shoulders should be square. Now, if you watch the way that I move to this position, basically what I'm doing is I'm shifting my hip socket so that it works towards neutral, and I'm opening my hips up simultaneously. And as I'm doing that, I'm trying to keep my head and my chest back in behind the golf ball. And what you're going to see here is when I do this, when I rotate the hip back, okay, you can see that my head dropped down a little bit. as I get into this position, I can start to feel like, okay, I got some shaft lean here. I can make these little small swings. That's what it's gonna feel like to be able to hit down on the golf ball. That position is what we're gonna be trying to work to. So your goal here in step number 1 is to be able to do some reps here. And you don't need to do extended periods of reps because a lot of you are gonna feel some discomfort on the lead side of your body, kind of lead, hip girdle, maybe the lower back. It's a position that you move through so quickly that you'll get past the discomfort here pretty quickly. Okay, so what you want to be able to do is go from a static address position and go to your impact position quickly. Shift your hips, open them up, move the left wrist flat or slightly bowed, and feel that spot and just make some little small reps where the club is brushing its way through the low point. Little small inputs. Yes, that's a tense movement from your hands and your arms, but I want you to feel what it's like to move the club with your body in that right spot. After you can do that for several reps here and you got some good connection to it, and you can go pretty quickly, then you can start stacking in what the drill is all about here. And this drill is what I call the touch, rotate, and go drill. Now the touch and rotate part is basically how you start to create weight shift in your golf swing, the correct loading mechanisms that you need to have in place to make sure that you're not doing things with your smaller muscles that are going to get you into trouble. So if you were to draw a line up from the center of my ankle on the trail side of my body, you can see that there's about a 1-inch gap there. What we're going to do is we're going to move our right thigh against that load line and allow our head to move away from the ball just a little bit. So I'm just going to go ahead and move into the load line, and I'm going to turn my body back to where my hands are just outside my trail thigh. Now our job now is to get ourselves back to that same impact position and stop. That's it. So that little small movement that you can go and back check those positions that I just outlined for you is the key to your success when it comes to your ball striking. So here's how it's going to work. You're going to go, let's go to impact first. Okay, that's where I'm going to be working to. So I'm going to touch the load line and turn. I'm going to go back to that same spot. Okay, feel my arms working through that. Okay, feels pretty good. Definitely a little bit of discomfort on my left side here just because I'm doing a lot of reps on this. Okay, so I'm going to go back to impact. Okay, feel it. So I'm going to go ahead and shift into the load line and turn. Go back to that same spot. Okay, I got some really good connection to it. I know if I can get my golf swing, even though it's not going to probably look like that at high rates of speed, but I have the correct feel of what good impact is all about. Now I can start making this drill come to light. Now here's the nuts and bolts to this, is I don't want you to have tension in your hands and your arms and feel like you're trying to slow things down to get things lined up. What you should be feeling though is when your hands and arms work down in front of you, is that you should have a good visual of what your hands and arms were just feeling, but you just need to be as tension-free as you possibly can. We don't want you trying to hold the club face square. The club face is going to be rotating its way through, but you don't need to actively help it. The idea is to see the hand and arm path inside of that good body movement with what we were just doing in that consolidated fashion, and start letting the tension come out and move from about 9 to 3. So here's what it's going to look like. So I'm going to just go through the entire protocol so I can show you how I want you to practice it. So let's do 1 rep from static address to impact. Okay, that's where I'm going to be moving to. I'm going to touch and turn. I'm going to go back to impact. I'm going to do another one just like that. Okay, you can feel that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start making this swing a little bit longer. Touch and turn. But I'm going to start to release and let the tension come out. And if I was really connected to it, now I'm going to just try to hit a shot, trying to feel myself work back to that same position. All right, so we just started practicing. We just started hitting our first golf ball. It wasn't perfectly solid. I'm not one of those YouTubers that hits it perfectly solid every time, but it was certainly good. And it was something that I can get on board with here. 70 miles an hour on a little baby swing. A little bit out on the toe. Path was very neutral. Okay. So I'm going to go back through protocol. Shift hips left, open them up. Hands are forward. Kind of feeling that spot. Touch and turn. Okay. Feels good. Okay, so really good contact there. So angle of attack was 3 down, so 2.3 down I should say. still a little bit out on the toe, but very acceptable shot-wise. Speed was 78 miles an hour, and I'm hitting good shots that are going out there without a whole lot of curvature, and something that I could certainly build some more speed around. Think about the big complex movements being in a condensed environment. Move the hips, move the thorax, move the torso into that great spot. Feel the arms, what they're doing as your hands and arms start to work through that point of contact. Start making little small swings that you have control of to get back there. And then start expanding it outwards and shake the tension out and start having some fun in your practice sessions. If you do this stuff right, you're gonna start compressing the golf ball. You're gonna be mesmerized because it took very little work to get us here. And a lot of the times, the faults that you brought to the table are gonna start to sort themselves out, and your practice sessions just became incredibly, incredibly useful to you.